Hello everybody, welcome to Spoken Word Saturday, hosted by People Speak Up, part of the Coracle Europe Festival, April 2021. So my name's Eleanor and I'm the founder and director at People Speak Up. We're an arts and health organisation and we work through storytelling, spoken word and creative writing. And we aim to create a space for people to come together to have a voice. And this is what we're doing here today. Usually we're at our base at the Frynes Fach, the old Zion Chapel in Llanelli, where we meet on the second Saturday of every month. But for the past year, we've been in Zoom town. So it's great that we're able to still connect. We have about 20 spots this afternoon, and we'll have a little bit of a break halfway through. We have a mix of stories, pieces of writing, poetry. So I hope you enjoy, whoever's watching out there on YouTube Live, wherever you are. And we're definitely going to enjoy because we do this every month and we're here to just speak from the heart and listen from the heart. So I'm now going to pass you over to Dominic, the director of Coracle Europe Festival, and we're so thankful to be part of this wonderful festival that brings organisations and people from all around Europe together. Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you, Al. Prynawn da, everyone. Welcome to the festival. Welcome to Spoken Word Saturday. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the festival, where it came from. I've been involved in the arts internationally for over 15 years now. And about 10 or 11 years ago, I was involved in a project between Wales and Ireland, collecting creativity for artists and writers and poets and actors across the Irish Sea. I met somebody in Ireland called Colm O'Kiernan, who was an Irishman, now living in Sweden. And so Sweden came very much into the mix. And since about 2014, I've been curating literary residencies in Tranås, a little town in Sweden, hosted by Cultivera, the organization of which Colm is the director. And I'm looking around the room and there are two people here who have spent time in Sweden on those residencies. Eleanor and Mel have both been there in 2015 and 2018. And after these residencies took place in the summer, we would try and get the people who had been together sharing in Sweden to come together again. That many of these writers come from Portugal, Sweden, Ireland, Canada, all around the world. And we tried and get them together again. So in the autumn, we used to go over to Wexford and try and meet every year a few months after the residency, because that's where Colm came from originally. I got fed up with that, because I don't come from Wexford. And I said, well, why don't all these people meet up again in Wales? So we started doing that in 2018. And those of us, this family of people across Europe that's getting bigger and bigger, would try to meet together and have a bit of a creative sharing in West Wales. And we thought, well, as we're all friends meeting up, why don't we do that sharing publicly? And so the Coracle Europe Festival was born. In 2019, People Speak Up very much became part of the festival, when Spoken Word Saturday was still in Frynes Fach, and we were all able to meet with our Swedish friends and our Irish friends in Llanelli. But now, as Eleanor says, we're in Zoom town. So we're gone digital, and it's been a strange old festival for me. It's quite lonely sitting in a room with lots of the computers broadcasting things, but we know how very, very essential these kind of digital meetings are for people, people engaged. And for us, it's a chance to put down a marker and say, hey, look, we're still here. Our festival is going to be back, and people are going to come from all around the world to West Wales again in 2022. But this is our online festival. This is our festival of resilience. And I think resilience is very important to all of us in the arts, and to those of us who are stuck, isolated, wanting to connect with people, wanting to connect with our friends and our families, wanting to connect with communities creatively. So I'm just going to read a little poem. I'm going to jump in and have my chance before we carry on. And it's a very short poem. In fact, the introduction is probably going to be longer than the poem. But I just wanted to remind everybody that we are still in our souls in Llanelli today, but I'm in Ferryside and my soul is a little bit closer to Carmarthen. So this is a very short poem about Carmarthen and Llanelli. It's not what we're not doing on Saturday afternoon, it's about rugby. And it's about the time after those regions were created and the Llanelli Scarlets became a big region. Of course, the Llanelli still have got a rugby club, but Llanelli these days are not as big as the Scarlets. They're a feeder club and they play in the same division as the Carmarthen Quins. So this is a haiku about the Carmarthen Quins and Llanelli playing, but then I had to take the dog for a walk at half time. And then when I came back, I wrote another 2 lines. So the haiku became a tanka. So this is called Derby Review Haiku, Full-Time Tanka. Quin's colours twilight, no wintry sun scarlet, burns Gaerfyrddin sky. Proud white on green, crossed just once, dog walked 791. That was the famous score. And now I'm going to hand over to somebody who, the last time we had the festival physically, somebody who was there with us on the opening night in Iechyd Da, and hand over to Lizzie.
Remember to unmute. Right. Resilience is my bird in the hand. Now my mother's voice echoes in my mind. Phrases uttered, family humour, reminded of her scent, her cool hands on my fiery head. Memories that fuel my courage, enabling me to withstand all that is gone and all that will be. Straight and tall, bending when needed, but never breaking.
I think it's me next. So my poem is very much a celebration of everything that we do in Write for Word, People Speak Up, Story, Care and Share, and certainly Spoken Word Saturday. And this is From Zion to Zoom. She'd proper dazzled across the globe, hovered in towns' night skies, in Wales, Ireland and Sweden. She bungeed from country to country, from bustling city to remote island, from estuary village to landlocked, tree-smocked, lake-logged town, without passport, phone and poems, tucked in her cabin bag pockets. Her last outing was to Old Zion, Llanelli, where echoes soaked into pulpit and pews as those gathered, cradled a fragile pattern, savoured the fragmenting crumbs. Silent eyes flickered uncertainty. When would they congregate again, break bread of poetry, sup the wine of language on their lips? Questions hung in the chapel balcony through 2020, spring and summer, autumn, winter, as an undusted chrysalis emerged. The soundless tortoiseshell fluttered in the warm, draftless air. She dreamt that the only way to see friends again, to meet new people, to find her way through the new fairgrounds, half-lit haunted house, was to wear a jam jar on her head. Everyone wore jam jars on their heads, with a twist of baler twine looped around the glass thread as they watched faces through translucence. She reached her fingers to stroke a stubbled chin, ruffle growing hair. She smoothed the cool, the rigid. The showman, spoken word's greatest, bounced back, not troubled by hazmat masks, warning tape or vexatious signs declaring pubs, clubs, restaurants closed, theatres, churches, meeting halls, chapels dark. Undeterred, he launched his carousel again, spun us away from COVID's dance hall, that resounded with foot stamp, fist thump, hand clap in right-wing rhythm. He shattered the spells in the walls of mirrors that sneered, leered, twisted their senses of self. In this landscape of real ruin, as the world closed in outside, the virtual fairground rocked them and they opened up inside. Helter-skelter, they rushed to read, twirled ribbons on the midsummer maypole, flew flags of many nations across the hemispheres, soared with the sounds of colours and justice. Time and space for the raffle and fairground flirting, no hugging, no snogging, no fucking, no worry about where Zoom flings might end. She touched the glass oblongs of poets in their kitchens and bedrooms. It felt smooth, cool, rigid, yet she noticed dimples, tears and laughter lines stretching from lips to smiling eyes. Poets and carnies danced at the international fair. They shimmied their solo spots in the ring. They risked a jig, a polka, a salsa, a satrira and a jacador. They applauded with riot, with heartfelt reverence. And they kept the dazzle alight. Joppenbouw.
A fragile dance with her body. She seemed to always miss a step. An ongoing uphill battle of mind versus soul. Why can't I love you? She asks her in the mirror. With tears rolling down her face, like raindrops on a car window, they're running down with pace. Like a deer in the headlights, she doesn't know what to do. But still she stands and fights through all she's put her through. Why are you still standing? She screams at her in her head. Softly she whispers, because one day this will all be a memory, and looking in the mirror will no longer fill you with dread.
Thank you, Fionn. My name's Karen and I wrote this about everyone at Story, Care and Share. So here we all are, re-emerging. We have all shared moments, places, people and memories where our minds could go and our bodies could not. There has been laughter and fun, tears, joy and sadness. Understanding each other and having a space to share stories together. Delving into our past, present and future. Dreaming of rainbows, beautiful sunsets, palm trees, adventures to far-flung regions where we have once travelled. We have closed our eyes, listened to the outside world, inside, gathering aromas to fill our senses, nature seeping into our pores, the dawn chorus, steam rising on a country pathway, tips of leaves shared on the spring beginning, beautiful colours, snowdrops, bluebells, crocuses, daffodils bursting with life, our thoughts and imaginations being nurtured. We have all come together in this time, and even in its darkest day, we have been resilient. So, here we all are, re-emerging. Thank you.
Castles in the air. Oystermouth's Brobdingnagian castle of antiquity bestrides precipitous paradise with pizzazz. Clutching, crunching, whizzo cornets, puffing prelapsarian families huff up steeple steep, stippled stone steps. Amity personified nimbly clambers over clover-clothed clods and rambles upon ramshackle ramparts remnants. Garrulous landlubbers toddle tiddly among thrumming pubs. Caricature raconteurs are cherry camaraderie's very merry epitome. Gushing lushes rush, eagerly chugging, grog glugging, gagging to make a good thirst impression. jibe talking, teeth-tough sea dogs take turns to tipsily tack toward titivated taverns. Nautical sorts taste tantalizing tucker, toast topsy-turvy tides, tote tip-top tipple still stop tap. Other older mariners maunder, rudder-faced, sharing apocryphal reminiscences from hull-raising days of yore. Thus, past their sail-by date, bloated boatmen wistfully watch arrayed yachts yaw. Oozing classy cachet, bejeweled fashionistas sachet, cheek to chic in ship-shaped shops, espousing a yen for yin and yang. Haute couture seems de rigueur amongst the sylph-svelte conoscenti. With an eye for the artistic aesthetic, these esoteric eclectic cliques acquisitively garner garments par excellence. Ethical, ethnic bohos peruse Ibiza bazaars, nice niche nooks, likely on the lookout for next to knockout knickknacks. Hyphenated rat-tat-tat chit-chat on affable offer beguiles ineffable coffee quaffers, grabs, grubs, gorgeous, gorgeous. Puckish, peckish, amble, to sample, ample, creme de la creme ice cream, in far from parlous, parlous. The lettered literati's creative coterie of incongruity whizzes within wizard word smithery at a rum rhymes emporium, all mill amid a moneyed milieu. Muffled mumbles arch-ancient peers, then appears to disappear amidst mist. These skeletal shambles resembles a rickety, rackety, rust-racked wreck. This ostensibly elegiac creation creaking beneath the creeping deep is definitely no definitively defunct entity in its entirety. Fearfully fanciful anthropomorphism forcefully forges to the phantasmal fore. For a bird's eye views such a gigantic metallic edifice as edifying, tantamount to human. What an uber numinous seaside colossus. A twilight glint wearily waves away and abandons peachy beaches, cobbly wobbly pebbles. Doused dusk draws drowsy darkness close. Simmering apricity surrenders to Cimmerian opacities, fizz dizzy drizzle dispirits. Yet an elevated village idyll conjures chutzpah with a victorious flourish at the finish, even when weather beaten. Despite desperate misery, its pelagic inhabitants discover euphoria here in utopia. Thank you.
And it's over to you, Lee. And you just need to unmute. Brilliant.
Thank you very much. This poem is inspired from a recent animated film called Wolfwalkers, which I loved very much, and this gives me a very great in-depth feeling of you'll see through the poem. Okay. The title is called Running with the Wolves, named after one of the movie's songs. A wonderful movie of the wolves for my eyes to witness. Yet adoration in my eyes turned to envy as I yearn a chance to live nights through its body, free from the wrath of human nature and running with the wolves to the moon and announce my pride. Thank you.
Sunshine, sunlight, lighter days, lighter nights, days extended by hours and new births of pretty flowers, time slipping away, months flying by, time does not stop. Summer on the horizon, that time of year repeats. The moments of the past are behind and the future is now. Sunshine, sunlight, lighter days, lighter nights.
I think it's me now. Yeah. Yeah, this is a life story of mine. There's two people here who've read it and seen it already, and it's the time that I lost my rugby, which meant a lot to me at the time. There is one or two swear words and a bit of distress in some of the writing, but I hope it's okay to share this with you. It's called Goodbye. It was St. David's Day, 1984, and I was getting ready to play for my 6th cap for Wales. I was hyped up for the match because I had never played against Romania before, and I didn't know what to expect. Us Welsh boys were up for it. Robbie James, our captain, was clenching his jaw like a madman, ready to inflict pain on the opposition. He was always the first one to start a fight on the field. The referee blew his whistle and the Romanians kicked the ball high. I caught it cleanly. I tucked the ball under my arm and ran straight at them. My legs were pumping like a raging bull. I went through 2 players before getting knocked down by a Romanian shoulder. Glasby, one of our flankers, picked up the ball, knocked loose in the tackle, and passed it out to the backs. I scrambled up from the ground and ran towards their 5-metre line. I could see a ruck forming. Then I remember Di Carrington snatching the ball and going over for the try. I jumped with excitement, punching the air, and the home crowd were shouting, "Come on, Wales." That's the last time I ever played rugby. 30 days later, on March 31st, I was involved in a road traffic accident. I was traveling with my stepfather, who was driving at the time. I can't remember anything about the accident or that day because I must have passed out. Sometime later, I came around. There were tubes up my nose and down my throat. I realized I was in a hospital bed, surrounded by nurses. I was feeling groggy and my mouth was dry. The nurse said that the ward doctor was on his way to take all the tubes out. My eyes focused on the ward clock. It was 11 a.m. when the doctor arrived. He said, "Good morning." I didn't answer him. I was still confused and weak. The doctor explained why I had all those tubes connected to me. He said that I had suffered a fractured skull and a slight bleed on the brain. And they had to put me into an induced coma because I was fitting too much for the surgeon to operate. The doctor said that the tubes were keeping me alive while my brain was recovering from the trauma caused by hitting my head on the front passenger window. I asked the doctor how long I had been out for. When he said 2 weeks, I was totally shocked. I really thought I'd only been in hospital for a day. I asked the doctor how long before I could go back to playing rugby. He held my hand, and I knew the answer before he spoke. I was gutted. I turned on my side and put the blanket over my head. I cried. My career was over. There's no point living, I thought. As the weeks went by, it became clear my mental health had taken a knock, and I was also experiencing hallucinations, seeing my dead grandfather who used to whip me when I was a child with a brown leather belt. I remember trying to escape from the hospital ward because the hallucinations felt so real at the time. In the end, the doctors at Llangwili General Hospital in Carmarthen transferred me to St. David's Hospital in Johnstown. They diagnosed me as suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder. I remember the psychiatric ward so well. The stench of human urine and feces would make me feel sick. I felt this place was more like an institutional jail than a hospital. Patients screaming, then humming to themselves, sobbing their eyes out and waiting for their antipsychotic drugs to kick in so that they could fall asleep and forget about the rest of the day. The staff were like prison guards, like the ones off the telly, jangling their keys, teasing the patients. The staff loved it. They would laugh as they walked along narrow corridor, provoking reaction so that they could restrain a patient on the ground. It was all about power. I didn't like it. I was scared. The staff was screwier than the patients. I felt shivers go down my spine. I thought, will I be the next one to be restrained by the staff? I remember feeling lost, lonely and unwanted. And in the early of one morning, I decided to take my own life. I tied the cotton bedsheet to one of the window latches and then made a noose so I could hang from it. Thank God it didn't go to plan. The window latch snapped and I fell to the floor, hurting my back. I couldn't stop laughing. I felt relieved. This was a wake-up call for me. As the days passed, my thoughts as I turned to, how do I get out of here alive? Then I had a light bulb moment. I planned my own recovery by doing light exercises each morning, remembering to go easy because my head was still a bit sore from the car accident. I knew I had to keep a low profile because I didn't want to be trapped in the psychiatric system. I was feeling anxious. I just wanted to get out. My exercises were helping me to deal with my post-traumatic stress disorder, and my life was starting to turn a corner. However, there was one occasion when I almost erupted with rage. I was walking towards the dining room on Saturday afternoon. I heard the television. England were playing South Africa in a test match. My post-traumatic stress disorder kicked in. I couldn't stay within earshot of the telly. Hallucinations of my grandfather with his brown leather belt appeared once more. I ran to the male toilets at the bottom of the corridor, closed the door behind me and punched the plasterboard wall with my fist. Damn it, I thought, you stupid fool. Then I puked up, leaving more mess behind. I realized then rugby had been everything to me. I knew I had to find something to replace the loss. I left the toilet and made my way back to my bedroom. I fell asleep on the bed, exhausted. When I heard a knock, I opened the door. It was Porky Edwards, one of the ward staff. He liked the girls a bit too much. He was a dirty sod. I had watched him so many times trying to come on to young women. I thought I was in trouble for punching the wall. I hoped not. I didn't want to be here any longer. I watched Porky Edwards open his mouth, anticipating sharp words. He said that I had an appointment on Tuesday at 2 p.m. with a consultant psychiatrist. God, no. Did this mean I was staying in this shithole? I didn't want to take antipsychotic drugs like the others. Tuesday morning arrived and I was feeling scared. I hadn't slept well and my mind was fragile. I was trying so hard to keep it together. I asked a member of staff if I could have some painkillers for a headache. This might set me, I thought. I went back to my bedroom to lay down, closed my eyes, and went to sleep. I woke up later feeling much calmer. I looked at my watch, it was nearly 2 p.m. I remember seeing the consultant psychiatrist's name, Mr. Hugh Evans, above the faded blue door. I took a deep breath and knocked. A voice requested me to come in. Mr. Evans asked me my name. He asked me if my name was Stephen. I was a bit confused. Is this a trick question, I asked myself. Sit down, he ordered. What he said next was like winning the football toes. You have recovered well, you can go home. We need the bed. I thought, you cheeky fucker. You could have sent me home earlier. I kept silent. I just wanted to get out of here. Mr. Evans said that he would be sending a report to my doctor. I thanked him with a quiet snarl. I went back to my bedroom feeling like an excited child. I packed my clothes and phoned for a taxi. It was 4 p.m. when the taxi arrived. I walked to the front door with my head held high, climbed into the taxi and asked the driver to take me to 5 Spillman Street. As the car was pulling away, I turned and stuck 2 fingers up and said, "Adio." The taxi driver looked in his view mirror. He asked if I was okay. Aye, I said. I asked him if he could drop me off at the Quins rugby ground instead. Of course, he replied. When I arrived at the ground, I placed my palms on the pitch and snapped blades of grass in my curling fingers. I said goodbye to my career for the last time, but with healing tears. Thank you. Sorry it was too long, but I hope it was okay.
It wasn't too long at all, and thank you so much for trusting this space and sharing your story, Stephen Carl. I'm just going to share with you just a short piece before we have a little break, titled Fur Baby Girl. She looks up at me. I look down at her. Deep brown eyes lower. Squeak, squeak. She looks at me. I look down at her. Squeak, squeak. She teaches me every day. No ego, no agenda, just squeak, squeak, squeak. I'm humbled by my love for Bonnie the dog. Deep brown eyes, heart beats in my soul. One lick of the ear, heart hurts. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Thank you. So we'll have a 5-minute break. So we'll start back just after 10:02. And then we'll go through the running order again. It's a good chance to have a chat with people if you feel, but it does go a little bit crazy when more than two people talk at once. But hey, let's manage it. Go for it.
Eleanor, I really appreciated your story,
Eleanor.
Stephen.
Oh, thank you, Lizzie. Yeah, it's a piece of writing I did for my Open University course, which is my life writing. And at first, I was wondering would it make the grade, but I was pleasantly surprised when the mark was really high. So I was really happy with that.
That was really good. Yeah. I used to work up there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, in the works unit.
Oh.
Yeah, admin.
Eleanor, I should be leaving you.
Hi, Margaret. Yes, I can hear you. I was just on the phone. Are you okay? Did you want to speak this afternoon?
I should be leaving you now.
No problem. No problem at all. Lovely to see you. See you soon.
I should be leaving. All right.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
You're muted, Donna.
Sorry, Lee, I was just telling my other half something, but I keep forgetting I'm on mute.
So how does everybody feel now that the lockdown is lifted?
Still not too sure about it, Lee.
Why not?
Well, it's lifted, but then I've only had one jab so far. So.
Are you just like too adapted to peace and quiet? Is it?
Well, it can get too quiet here at times.
Yes, I mean, to be honest, me on the contrary, sometimes I find noise too overwhelming.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind being in a crowd, but when it's like screaming and thundering and all that.
I think the first thing that I noticed when we went into lockdown last year, first of all, was the quiet outside with no cars, and you could actually hear the birds singing.
Yeah, everything just seemed dead, didn't it?
Yeah. It's like that. It's very quiet.
Yeah, just in your own perspective, you just feel like the only person left on Earth, don't you? Because it just made me, made me think very strongly of The Secret Garden, when everything in the garden is just still, silent, and dead, but then everything blooms back to life, like how the lockdown did.
Yeah. In the village here, we've got a rag and bone man, and yesterday afternoon it was really quiet, but he came past and I could hear him shouting rag and bone, and he just keeps on and on and on.
I thought
eerie.
I didn't think they did rag and bone anymore.
Well, he does. I've never ever seen him, only heard him singing.
Just from the old Victorian times, rag and bone.
Yes.
But to be honest, so I think I prefer it in a more Oliver mode. Who will buy this wonderful morning? Such a sky you never did see.
Alternatively, I can put up with the chimes of the ice cream van coming round.
Who will buy my wonderful ice cream? And that song, the part where it says it's cheap and half the price, well, compare that to today, isn't it?
Oh, goodness, yes. I was helping out at an event a couple of years ago where children were being taught about the First World War.
Oh, yes.
Taken along with me some old currency, and I took a farthing, and there was 960 farthings to a pound, and they couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, a penny was literally gold in those times, wasn't it?
Yeah. You could buy sweets and everything. Wow.
Yeah, but everything just got a lot greedier then, didn't it?
Yeah. I'm still surprised at the prices that people get charged these days.
Yeah, I mean, you could even buy a chocolate bar for just 50 pence, couldn't you?
You could buy them for 2.5 pence when I was little.
Yeah, like a sixpence, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and it's just and basically half a crown and all that's like £100, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I remember my mum and dad's first house they bought was £2,000.
Wow.
That was a detached 4-bedroom. I think now.
Mind you, Stephanie, I remember buying my first house and it cost me £13,000, but then it was in tumble.
Ah.
And I'm thinking, why are these houses so cheap? I'm thinking, that's why. Yeah.
Our house cost £1,500.
Wow.
Long time.
In the middle of our street, our house.
Middle of our street.
My dad bought one in a cottage in 1963 from a lady he used to know, and it was been standing empty for a long time. It had no electricity, it had gas lighting, and it cost £90, and that was in 1962. And at the time he said, "What?" And she said, "Is that too expensive?" And he said, "No."
The people in the village thought we'd overpaid for the house. Crazy.
I remember my grandparents didn't have a bathroom in their old house in Middleton, Norris, where the botanical gardens are now, and they didn't have a bath, so we had the proper old zinc bath by the fireside. And I remember up until the age of about 8, I was still having a bath in that.
Yep.
Yeah. And the toilet outside. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Where summertime was brilliant, and I would stay in the toilet reading the newspaper. But in the winter time, it was bad for many, many reasons, because the toilet was full of ice and that was a problem which I won't get into.
Yeah, let's not go there.
No.
Okay, so moving on. So we're going to start back to our second half, and a slight change in the running order. So we will start with Louise, and then Helen, Lynn, Layla, Rosie, Yvonne, and then we will finish with Steph and Estelle. Just double checking, I've not left anybody out, or if anybody's changed their mind and they would like to read and they haven't. Looking around, that's great. Just before we start the second half, Dom, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I'm just wondering, is it a good time just to share any other events or the last event of the festival, so people are aware of what else is happening or where they can find everything else?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. The festival program is available on the Coracle website. So that's coracle.eu.com. So all the events are listed there. All the YouTube links are alongside the festival events, so you can join those. The festival closing event is Poems and Pints next Monday at 6 o'clock. And that requires a Zoom link, which is also shared. And I suppose I could just take this opportunity very quickly to say that following this event, there's an open mic in America, in Massachusetts, at 7 o'clock this evening, in case anybody would like to go to that one. Of the people gathered here today, I'm thinking perhaps people like Mark or Carl might fancy tuning into an open mic in Massachusetts in a couple of hours. So I'll share the Zoom link to that with Donna, and then perhaps you can put it in the chat, Donna. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
fine, Dominic. Is it just join if you want to participate, or can you spectate as well via that link?
Well, I think it's to both. Yeah, I would just join and then say that if you don't want to read, then just let them know that you're just there to listen.
Wonderful, fantastic. Okay, so we will start the second half. Welcome, Louise, over to you.
Thank you. This poem is for all people. Powerful people, standing in our power, fearless in togetherness, ready to do good work. Healing capacity has ease, earned places as valuable team players, playfulness needed for mankind's happiness. Powerful parent greater than us. Humans on earth, we touch briefly this place. Optimized fun that creates eternal laughter. Balanced perspectives gains fairness. Peace, the name of the game. Less than trenches of stuck, not an option. Seeing beyond lack, how strong we are, owning our might. Rainbow's pot of gold is full, golden coins ours to claim, trusting on the wings of prayer. Other people's coins, none of our business, eyes on coins ready to be claimed. Rich ownership without bashfulness, giving and taking with gratitude. Generous kindness warms our tummies. Coins gathered and shared, boldly accepting our lot. We are worthy, unconditionally, simply believing. Our coins added and banked by the universe. Shared wealth brings Mother Earth's smile to the surface. The without mentality has no room at the inn. Raising our glasses as thoughts of poverty dropped. Person power to people power. Glistening golden coins in the glorious yellow sunshine. Prayer of thankfulness brings harmony. We are already wealthy in so many ways. confident, radiant sun shines among blue skies. Light takes away the darkness. Seen clearly now, the endless pots of gold. Thank you.
Hi, I thought I'd read a poem I wrote for my daughter. It's called Letter to My Daughter. First, you lived in the old schoolhouse by Abbey Cumhere. There I slept in all my clothes, for it was the coldest house I'd ever met. Then, you lived in that abandoned Heartsease caravan, mice infested and condensation dripping down the walls. Before you built the yurt with its carpentered east window frame, the borrowed wood burner with its chimney through the roof. You made the most delicious pineapple steamed cake on that stove before it burnt a patch in the roof tarpaulin. It was your gap year, you said, better than backpacking the world. And I agreed. Next, your dream. 14 months heritage horticulture. You learnt hundreds of plants I'd never heard of, their habits, habitats, and seeds. Then you got pregnant and moved to give birth in a birthing pool and be driven beatific back home to the ground floor flat in fish ponds. Soon you returned to rent that flat, Sunnycroft, 1899, the top floor with its brilliant views and innumerable stairs that I carried toddler Rose up and down for those endless lakeside walks, rocking her to sleep in that awkward buggy. I could never remember how to fold and unfold. Till you moved to Llanwrthwl, and a house that as each year passes looks more and more like an illustration from the Arlbergs, a home brimming with Lego, seed trays and love. I had thought to write of those journeys I made across Wales from south to north when my mother's heart failed and she couldn't remember how to make a cup of tea. But somehow, what I find myself writing is about you, my daughter, and the life that will continue and stretch out beyond me, just like the old A470. Diolch.
Reminiscence kept me going throughout the lockdown, and so this is one of them. Red brick terraces, early morning train and bus, red bricks to red bricks, bus ride through Liverpool, bus ride to Granny's. Sunday streets deserted, sleeping, dusty, littered, terraces row upon row, broken by bummed out absence, bare earth scattered with bricks, fragments of glass glitter, to roast dinner with Granny. But first run the gauntlet of Uncle Tommy's barking dog. Granny is tiny in crossover pinny. Brown hair is coiled, barely touched with grey. Toothless but smiling, she whistles her words. You're lovely and tall. No need of boxes to reach up to high shelves. She imparts her wisdom of life. Roast dinner with Granny. Scullery bustles with life. Dinner is cooked by high school cook Granny. caramelized sugar for gravy in a spoon on the stove, potatoes to die for, roast dinner with Granny. Then laughing stories, remembering good times and bad, up the street to Auntie Nellie's, her tea weak as dishwater, coining the phrase Nellied tea, then braving the backyard for the outside lavvy, bleached wooden seat, newspaper and spiders hanging by strings, done with the backyard, into the dusty front parlour to play the harmonium, fingers banging no tune on the tired cream keyboard, feet barely touching the pedal, pressing the red carpet down. Tired now and time to go, a florin tucked secretly in hand, sad to be leaving the house full of kind laughter. Bus ride home from Granny's, back through the streets as darkness falls, leaving the memories behind.
Nice one.
This is a good story.
My darling nanny and mum, sweet Lily and Pixie, my nanny, falls asleep in the chair. She won't wake up until the film starts. My darling mum sleeps half a day at night. Night or blue open sky. As she says, beam me up, Scotty. I would fall in the arms of Spock and pointy ears. She dreams away in the darkness hours.
Sorry, every time I went to press unmute it.
Oh, I'm again, Rosie. Sorry, it's just remuted. That's it. You got it.
Great. Okay. I've been in the garden, so 3 poems, short poems inspired by the natural world. Suddenly it is here, and I have missed its coming. Indiscernible tiny pricklings of life on the tense twigs have swelled into leaf, damp with birth, complete. In place of the silent black silhouettes that stood for months frozen to the sky, all this softness stirs. Even after years of seeing spring spinning, I am surprised. Now, rich rush of leaves in the wind, murmurings of summer coming. Heavy, heavy, the chestnut rocks to the ground. Strange light riding on the back of the rain, resting on unfurled fists of leaf, splashing upon lakes of luminous earth. The yellow fields are glowing, glowing against the grey sky as the world's aura pours, glorying. The second one is inspired by the ornamental garden in Singleton Park, some of you may know. Beneath the giddiness of greenery, oh, it's all covered up, hang on. Beneath the giddiness of greenery growing over my head, beside the riot of rhododendron dripping with violet and violent pink, assaulted by the stink of skunk cabbage in the sunken bog, towards the artificial grey stone outcrop of the tumbling Victorian folly, choosing the path past the decaying tree trunk, crumbling home to a million multi-footed insects, struck by the raucous chirping of sparrows and wistful whistle of robin, and the intense sense of original yellow azalea. Climbing the 3 worn steps from the meandering avenue into the wistaria's unexpected cascade around the leaf clog of a lost pond. The mud has sucked in a viscous sky, swallowed the poetic pretensions of morning, and spits out a vaporous residue of damp amphibious light. And the last one is called The Gardener, and it's for my dad. Pausing at the pond's edge, folded in, flat cap, hand on stick, framed by wild geranium, jasmine and lavender. The gardener reflects a life of sowing seeds in moist trays, spring in his heart, forking compost into clay, planting, weeding, waiting, patience. Then, revelling in summer's paint-box glory, his eyes swallowed the colours whole, deadheading, raking the wet leaves, the debris of autumn, clogging vision. Clear-eyed into winter, journeying to join the ground, soul to soil. Wicker coffined in a squeaky wheelbarrow to Beethoven's Fifth, ode to joy, one with the earth. Thank you.
This is called The Girl from the Accounts. Richard waited, as Richard always waited, for the girl from accounts to pass by. It was 10:15. Any moment now she'd come down the corridor to the coffee dispenser with a tray and 5 mugs to fill. From his vantage point, he could see through the floor-length internal window to the corridor. 10:15, no girl. 10:17, 10:18. He felt a slight panic. Was she not coming? But then, just as he decided to look away and return to the papers on his desk, he caught her at the edge of his vision, walking to the machine. He relaxed and stared. She was beautiful, tall, long auburn hair, and in heels, always heels. It was this fact that first drew her to his attention. Girls in high heels walk differently. Not the dozy ones who only heeled up on a Saturday night and full of drinks staggered around in them until they fell off and then carried them. This girl could walk in heels. She took short steps, put one foot in front of the other in a perfect line, her back straight despite the tray. This girl knew how to sashay her hips. She could pirouette on her heels to turn. Richard had seen her do this by the lift. It was awesome. Today, her hair was held away from her face and swung down her back from side to side as she walked, as if an invisible breeze just for her blew in the corridor. Or he thought maybe she was the breeze, a gentle, loving breeze of movement and light. He continued to stare into space, awaiting her return. He couldn't hear anything as the glass prevented that, soundproofing the offices from passers-by, but he saw her tray of dark blue mugs, the company's own, with the name Bogart and Brown on the side. Richard had his own mug on his desk. It was empty. He had left getting his coffee until the girl passed. Then he had planned to follow her down the corridor and start a conversation. He ran through the opening lines he'd practiced. "It's warm here, isn't it?" No, that wouldn't work. It was always 17 degrees with the company's efficient air conditioning. Bogart and Brown believed in optimum working conditions for optimum employee output. What about, "It's good coffee"? Well, it was. So that was all right. It was the only coffee at Bogart and Brown, as they believed in an alert and awake workforce. But no, that was lame too. It was this inability to find an opening that stopped him following her in the mornings. This was just no good. He was so useless. There she was, the girl of his dreams, and he could do nothing except ogle like an uncoordinated teenager, and he was a man of 27. Most of his friends were married, some even divorced. His circle to go out with on a Friday night had shrunk appallingly low. If it wasn't for the recently divorced, there would be almost no one. And even then, all they wanted to do was grab as many women as they could and then boast about it. Ted Shriven held the record of 4 in one night. One girl in the alley, who he skipped away from once the deed was done, and one who took him to her place, and her flatmates joined in. She then blanked him and wouldn't return his phone calls. She sent him a text saying he was a rabid monster and how could he take advantage of 3 unconscious girls? Ted showed Richard his phone and denied this in the pub. He said all 3 moved in unison with him and returned his kisses. So that showed they were up for it. So what if there was no conversation? Best part that. No bloke wants a woman blabbing away while he's on the business. So near comatose was best for Ted. His ex-wife wouldn't shut up, drove him out the home, Ted insisted, forced him to walk the streets into the arms of the more silent types. You know, Ted was fond of saying, the ones that were grateful for any attention. After all, a man has to have some peace. Sometimes Ted was too much for Richard, but he was the only real friend he had. Richard was there again at 10:15 the next day, and the next, each time losing his nerve at the last minute. What if he botched it? Or she blanked him? Would knowing the truth destroy his fantasy? And which was preferable, knowing the truth and moving on from the rejection, or the pleasure of his longing and his dreams? After all, who was he kidding? That girl could have anyone. He was too junior and unimportant in Bogart and Brown to be noticed by a stunner like her. Then she was gone. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Every day for a week he looked, and nothing. The following week was the same. She was gone. She'd left. He was bereft. Of all the stupid things he had never done, this was the worst. He found it harder and harder to concentrate at work. Friday night became impossibly boring, endlessly following Ted, who was chasing women all over town. It did pick up momentarily last Friday, however, when Ted explained to Richard how he was spotted with a group of admiring girls outside the club in Rosalind Street last Saturday by the girl from the flat. She flew at him, hitting him and kicking him, screaming out he was a serial rapist and a right bastard. The group of girls he was trying to impress turned on him at her instigation and joined in the attack. He had to be rescued by the club bouncers, and by then there were at least 20, if not 30 women who joined in, and even the bouncers had to take cover in the club. It was a riot of harpies. Ted showed Richard the cuts on his forehead, where several of them, at least 10 according to Ted, as by now there were at least 50 in the banshees in the attack, at least 10 were hitting him with the heels of their stiletto shoes. Richard said on reflection he'd give next Friday a miss. He was tired of Ted's antics, and he felt very low that he had not once spoken to the girl from accounts, and that was his fault, all his own fault. He was becoming depressed and even thought of leaving the firm. The next Monday, Richard was on way back from his boss's office. His drop in performance had been noticed, and now he was on report. He'd be given a mentor who would support him, he was told. Bogart and Brown were a compassionate employer, but if this didn't work, well, then he'd have to be let go. After all, Bogart and Brown did not keep staff who were unhappy. It wasn't fair on the other staff who were cheerful at their desks and didn't make such clumsy mistakes as he did. Within the last 2 weeks, he'd totally lost the plot. Nothing mattered anymore. Richard took the lift to his office and pressed the wrong number. He wasn't looking and ended up on accounts. This was salt in his wounds. He'd have to leave this firm. Time to move on. The lift door opened at his floor, and she, yes, she, stepped in with her full tray, green eyes shining, a fresh honey glow to her skin, and her high shoes. Richard gasped. He couldn't believe this. She was in the lift with him. Totally overwhelmed with delight, not thinking straight, he forgot to get out. He was lit from within. No time to work out what to say. He blurted out, "Where have you been?" "Cyprus, for a holiday, and thank you for asking." "I missed you. I'm so glad you're back." The girl laughed, and angels laugh in Richard's eyes. "But you don't know me, and you miss me." "Yes, you and your tray. Every 10:15 you'd pass by my office." She smiled. "Yes, I know. And I'd see you watch me. I took longer and longer at the machine to see if you'd come for your coffee. But I didn't. No, I know. I couldn't understand it. You looked interested the other side of the glass. But then nothing. The lift arrived at the floor with the coffee machine, but I didn't notice. Someone else got in and took the lift back up again. I was afraid because I'm not what you would want," mumbled Richard, looking at his shoes. "How do you know that?" "Because no one's ever interested in me." "But I am. Did you not notice how I slowed down by your window, walked with such care past you to try and entice you out?" I should have come. My name is Richard. Fiona. Fiona, Richard repeated as if in a trance. Hello, Richard. But I have seen you around after work. Really? By the bus stop, you mean? No, in town, Friday night. You were with that slime ball, Ted Shriven. Oh, we were at school together and still mates. After his divorce, he was lonely. Richard didn't like where this was going. This was his dream girl, the one and only in the universe he could ever fall in love with. And she knew Ted. That meant one thing. Yes, the creep turned up at my friend's flat. Oh, no, not the three girls in the bed night occasion the other week. No, not his Fiona. He would be honour bound to destroy Ted. He wasn't sure how, but he'd witnessed a half drowning at school once. Ted's head in a toilet would be too good for him. He was all spoilt now. How could everything be so wrong? He was on top of the world, and now his revenge on Ted knew no limits. By now, having gone up and down a few times in the lift, they arrived back at the coffee machine. Yes, said Fiona, he really upset my sister and her flatmates. That's why he wears the scars from my stilettos. I was so angry seeing him trying it on with other girls. I flew across that street where he was chatting up the girls, and I repeatedly hit him around the head with my shoe. You did what? I gave the scum what for, that's what. Gashed his face, in fact. He was screaming, terrified, on the floor. And the bouncers, oh, they just laughed and encouraged me on. No one likes him much, the cocky sod. Then they picked him up and took him inside to sort him out. He was crying by this time. I think his nose was bleeding as well. Fiona? Yes? She shifted the cold tray of coffee. Fiona, will you come out with me on Friday night? We could say hello to Ted. I'd love to see his face with you on my arm. Fiona stepped closer and kissed Richard on the cheek.
Hi everyone, I'm Estelle. So this piece that I've created and Stephanie's created came from us working together in Creative Companions, one of People Speak Up's projects. We talked a lot about strength and listed things that we thought reminded us of strength, and we connected over our grandmothers, which were both like a symbol of strength for us. And then we had to reflect on our memories through reminiscence, and my piece is based on Stephanie's memories of her battle with cancer, and also from when she was younger, taking part in a school show, and I just really liked the juxtaposition of the two memories. So I created a little monologue based around that, and Steph created something based around my memory of the loss of my grandmother. So yeah, I'll share mine first and then Steph will follow. So this piece is called The Colours of Battle. Emotions. They lead you to the brink, a cliff edge with a threat of a painful descent, or the promise of enjoying the ride. It's dependent on perspective. In this instance, my cliff edge is a cold hospital bed and a stomach heavy with lead. Until now, my fears had existed within technicolours and spotlights, in a frightful screaming orange like that of the sun. Looking back, it had a lot more warmth than this frost. The frost is monochrome. It eats away at my limbs and makes everything hurt. Like I'm breathing in and choking on pure ice as it holds my chest hostage. And yet, when it becomes unbearable, when my body cries out for reprieve, for me to stop clutching to the only semblance of control I have left, I stand tall, ready for battle. Cancer can break my body and ravage against me, but it won't steal my identity. It won't rid me of who I am, of my memories and the experiences, not while I still try. And so, while I'm in pain and exhausted, I start to work on the foundations to build myself back up. Then the current, that was the thing to take me, waiting below the cliff's edge, the sea that rages on, angry and unrelenting. It stands no chance. I choose to swim rather than sink, and my strength spurs a smile of determination that even the true beautiful force of nature is envious of, because I won.
Estelle's grandmother was her strength and support. Spending so much time together, they became very close, not only physically, but emotionally too. One of Estelle's favourite songs speaks of what's meant to break us is often what makes us stronger. This comes from an aphorism by 19th century philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, and reminds us that resilience is needed in life. And it sounds to me as though Estelle's grandmother was indeed resilient, especially when she ultimately had to face ovarian and then bowel cancer. From what Estelle has told me about her grandmother, she was a strong woman right to the end. And when she passed away in 2013, a huge hole was left in Estelle's life. But that hole is surely filled by Estelle's memories of her strong, caring grandmother, and her strength has obviously been passed on to her granddaughter, Estelle.
Thank you so much, Steph and Estelle, for sharing the work that you created as part of the Creative Companion project. And that project was funded by CAVS. It was a Friend in Need project. So it was a befriending project that we held over the winter months. And it was about bringing people together to connect creatively. So they started as Creative Companions and now they're friends. So that's great that you've shared that work here today. Now we've had a little, Rufus has managed to jump on. It's great that she's with us. On her mobile phone, she has bad internet connection. I'm not sure, Rufus, if you're prepared and you would like to share anything with us today. We cannot have the one and only Rufus Mufasa in Zoom Town and just be there silent. It just does not feel right. So, Rufus, would you like to share something?
Yeah, tell you what, I'll share some brand new stuff. I'm having terrible trouble, so it'll have to be on the phone, but I kind of like this here in my bed. This is lovely. You can all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can. It's breaking up a little bit, but I think it's okay now, yeah.
Okay, I'll try my best, right? So these are some brand new ones. Lennox, if you were designed to be standing, you'd look like a triangle, big-breasted, bench press, hence your arms could outstretch and deal with my mountains. Horizontal, we were the same, moleskin smooth, your boots smelt like digestive biscuits or fake tan, your snow white bib, one of my favourite bits, your armpits, the warmest part of home. And I familiarised myself with your every freckle, made maps of understanding, we made memories, we made vows, we Nate dog with the moon, your alarm bell, a gentle and deep Louis Armstrong, your warm breath, earthy, rustic royalty. I adored you with cheap bling, filled with good intent and pride. You, your underbite, rounded face, wise eyes, tortoise-like, gentle dopeness with me. But when you left, despite me, last breath, locked
We've lost you there, Rufus. I'm not sure if you can hear us.
after dark, my knuckles. Yeah, I can hear you. You can hear me.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but we're getting bits and pieces.
Oh no, that's terrible. Okay, let's try again. So this is let's go. There were 4, then 3, now 2. One is struggling. I Amazon primed antibiotics several types. I used cotton buds to try to clear the scabby eyes, changed the water, but no joy, no justice. And every time I pass it, it is worse. This happening inside and out. Got to get it out. I really can't cope or eat or stop thinking about what the hell am I to do next. The poor thing gasping, standing, the other poor thing with nowhere to go. Google says, whatever you do, don't flush it. Leon said, clove oil is humane. I don't have any and I can't drive. His other option is stab it in the head. But my mind is already filled with such shockers. But I can't just leave this. I can't walk away another night. I can't carry this into tomorrow. I call Little Rich. I would have called Hebs, but he's getting married in the morning. Little Rich thinks I'm talking in code, thinks I'm in danger. I say, no, I really need you to get here. I can't follow through alone. He thinks I'm crazy. His girlfriend is suspicious. He says, F this shit. He hangs up. I call Irish Paula. She says, flush. Get it done, get it gone, we'll do it together. I put her on loudspeaker, hold my jug over the bowl, she says a prayer, and just like that, we are free.
Woo!
So I had to pop a sonnet today. I almost went into a little panic when they were like, so now we're going to do a sonnet. And being a poet, I'm not even sure if I know what a sonnet is. But so literally, I'll close with this one because it's quite a sweet. Well, I've maybe got two little ones. Okay. So untitled again. This is how fresh these are. We start the day our favourite way, together in our base, crutches, tickles and kisses. We catch Blues Clues and tales from our favourite trains. If I'm organised, we eat croissants, we drink milkshakes. I get you clean, clothes crisp. My favourite part is the braiding, the most present part of my day. I spot check hands and faces before leaving. We hold hands, salute the birds. You sometimes race, but don't dare cross without me. Check left, right again. You are free when we reach the other pavement. I kiss your brows, pray, wave you away. Busy my day, hold my breath until you return home. This is number 19. Number 19 has artwork all over the walls and radiators. The Nesquik banana milkshake magic potion is particularly impressive in its stubbornness. Number 19's kitchen has little chefs that have mastered knives but not yet mastered mess. Number 19's washing machine has stamina and plays jazz. Number 19's her hall has attempted tropical but is already battered and needs patching. Number 19's stairs is an obstacle course. Number 19's walls and corners have been saged and blessed. Every area stripped and searched, and nothing new gets in without background checks and scrutiny. Number 19's bathrooms gets flooded regular. What can you do? Number 19's panic, pandemic, purchase, TV, talks American mostly. Sometimes the wishing tree wins and Songbird emulates and reminds us that we won.
Thank you so much, Rufus, and thank you for being our poet on prescription at People Speak Up. And thank you for all the work that you do with us. Diolch yn fawr. The power of the spoken word, resilience and unity. Thank you to Dominic and Mel at Write for Word for inviting us to be part of the Coracle European Festival, and good luck for the rest of the lineup over the weekend. And it'd be great if some of you can join us on Monday evening at the regular Poems and Pints night, which will be the wonderful, powerful finale of the festival. Thank you, everybody, for sharing and listening from the heart. It keeps me going on a regular basis, these events, the faces of all of you and the warmth in the eyes. Let's keep going. Let's be resilient, and see you next month or see you next week in whatever way we usually connect. Diolch yn fawr. Ta-ra,
Thank you,
ta-ra.
everyone.
Unmute yourself. Let's